Interesting facts about solar flares. If you have never heard the term solar flare before or would like to know some cool facts about solar flares, watch this video till the end. So, what is a solar flare? A solar flare is a powerful radiation flash caused by the release of magnetic energy, such as from a sunspot. They are some of the greatest explosive events in our solar system and are both intensely fascinating as well as unimaginably energetic events. They can persist for a few minutes to several hours and are seen as bright spots on the sun. A solar flare is often visible by the photons or light it emits at nearly all wavelengths. X-rays and optical light are the main methods used to track flares. Particles such as electrons, protons, and heavier particles are also accelerated by flares. Number 1. The fastest solar ejections can travel to Earth in a matter of days. Coronal mass ejections are enormous outpourings of energy and material that can move at speeds of around 620 miles or 1,000 kilometers per second, are sometimes associated with solar flares. Where emitted, these CMEs can travel the distance between the Sun and Earth within a matter of days. Number 2. Compared to volcanoes, solar flares emit 10 million times more energy. Believe it or not, a solar flare is far more powerful than a volcanic eruption. A solar flare, triggered by magnetic fields, can expel billions of tons of charged particles in a matter of minutes. The energy emitted by a solar flare is more than 1,000,000 times greater than the energy from a volcanic explosion on Earth. Although solar flares can be visible in white light, they are often more readily noticed via their bright X-ray and ultraviolet emissions. Not only that, but according to NASA, solar flares can release as much energy as 1 billion megatons of TNT. In contrast, the Hiroshima bomb's atomic yield was somewhere around 13,000 tons of TNT. Number 3. There can be more than 20 solar flares every day at peak periods. The Sun can produce around 100 solar flares each week when it reaches solar maximum. This is the point in its 11-year cycle when solar activity is at its most intense. Thankfully, most of these are not pointed in Earth's direction. Number 4. Solar flares are hotter than the Sun's core. The temperature inside a solar flare typically reaches 10 or 20 million degrees Kelvin and can be as high as 100 million degrees Kelvin. In comparison, the Sun's core typically reaches temperatures of about 27 million degrees Fahrenheit or 15 million degrees Celsius. Number 5. They can wreak havoc on electrical systems and gadgets. The Hydro-Quebec power grid in Canada was severely damaged in March 1989 by a massive CME that was among the largest ever recorded. Such events show us just how powerful the Sun and the cosmos in general can be. When these coronal mass ejections hit the Earth, they can trigger mild to severe geomagnetic storms that can damage GPS satellites and power infrastructures. Other examples have occurred in more modern times too. Number 6. Depending on how quickly they move, they become more or less deadly. Scientists may be able to assess if high-energy particles can cause damage on Earth by measuring their speed during intense solar storms. Number 7. Predicting them is very tricky. The time it takes for solar flare radiation to reach Earth from the Sun is just over 8 minutes. As a result, we don't have much time to react to these eruptions. Although it can be difficult to predict space weather, we have gotten better at it over the past few decades. Solar flares are usually not a cause for concern. There are no so-called killing flares, and while solar flares can potentially dramatically disrupt technology, they lack the energy to cause long-term harm to Earth. Even at their worst, the Sun's flares are not physically capable of destroying Earth, NASA says. Number 8. The current solar activity peak should be around 2025. As we are now in solar cycle 25, the 25th cycle to occur since regular record-keeping began with solar cycle 1 in 1755. Solar cycle 24 lasted 11 years, an average length, and had the 4th smallest intensity since regular record-keeping began with solar cycle 1. It was also the weakest cycle in 100 years. Solar cycle 25, which began in 2019, is also forecast to be a weak cycle. Solar maximum is expected in July 2025, with a peak of 115 sunspots. Number 9. Super flares are unlikely from our Sun, but not impossible. Super flares are produced by stars that have powerful magnetic fields and therefore are associated with more violent activity than our Sun. However, super flares do happen on stars that are similar to our Sun. Evidence from studying carbon isotopes found in tree rings suggests that super flares may have been produced by our Sun thousands of years ago, and so could occur in the future. But these events are extremely rare. Solar flares and their associated outpouring from the Sun are dramatic events but are completely natural and nothing to lose sleep over. While large ones have occurred over time, they do not present any serious threat to you physically. Our electrical grids and electrical equipment, however, cannot say the same. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. Like, share, and subscribe for more interesting videos like this. Thank you.